Oh, it was 2 for 2, right? That's what it was, 2 for 2. Let me go back to the case. This, what I don't have are the terms. All right. Good afternoon. This is Judge Alyssa Perez resuming the criminal docket for the 210th District Court for June 7th, 2022. Again, all matters being heard today are being heard in accordance with all emergency orders and directives regarding COVID-19. In addition to that, we're streaming all matters live via YouTube for public viewing. I'll go ahead and call it. Calling cause number 2021 0D02884, State of Texas versus Dominique Tremaine Owens. Just one case, right, Mr. Stevens?
That's correct, Judge.
Okay. May I have announcements, please?
Roa King for the State of Texas.
Brent Stevens for Mr. Owens.
And Mr. Owens is appearing from the police center. Again, for the record, I want to thank the parties for getting this plea squared away so quickly, as we were here just for this morning's final hearing plea deadline. We did have a trial scheduled for this week, so we were able to forego a delay or any confusion there. So, Mr. Owens, can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
And I can hear you perfect. So I'm going to be asking you questions, which means I need to swear you in. Would you raise your right hand, please? Sir, do you swear or affirm that any testimony you provide will be the truth and the whole truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. You can put your hand down. If you would, please state your name and date of birth for the record.
Dominique Tremaine, September 10th, 1999.
Okay, Mr. Owens, as I mentioned, I'm going to ask you about documents you may have reviewed with your attorney, the first of which is marked as State's Exhibit number 1. Those are the plea papers in this case. Within that document, you're guaranteed certain rights, including the right to remain silent, the right to trial by jury, the right to counsel, the right to confront and cross-examine witnesses, and the right to call witnesses on your behalf and in your defense. Mr. Owens, do you recall reviewing State's Exhibit number 1, the plea papers with your attorney and signing that document?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand everything contained within that document?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Stevens, have you had more than 10 days to prepare a defense in this case?
Yes, Your Honor.
And did you explain the plea papers to your client?
I did, Your Honor.
Do you believe he has understood the admonishments, rights, and consequences of giving up these rights by entering his plea today?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Owens, are you satisfied with your attorney's representation of you?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Stevens, do you have any reason to believe your client is not presently competent to enter his plea?
None at all.
Mr. Owens, have you ever been found incompetent by any court?
No, ma'am.
Ever been examined by a doctor or psychiatrist who has found you mentally ill?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Based on your testimony, your attorney's representations, and my observations of you, I'm going to find that you are competent to enter your plea. Sir, are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, ma'am.
Where were you born?
In Longview, Texas.
Okay. So in this case, you were charged with the offense of theft of property in an amount between $2,500 and $30,000. To that charge, sir, what is your plea? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Are you making your plea freely and voluntarily?
Yes, ma'am.
I will find you are making your plea freely and voluntarily. Ms. King, would you summarize the evidence, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Were the state to proceed to trial on the indictment, the state would have proven each and every element, the offense charged with theft of property between but less than $2,500 and less than $30,000 beyond a reasonable doubt. Judge, the defendant is pleading to 2 years, probated for 2 years of straight adult probation and other terms and conditions stated on the state's plea paperwork, and the state will dismiss cause number 2022-0C00842. And at this time, the state moves to admit Exhibit 1 as the state's plea paperwork, Exhibit 2 is Article 3914 disclosure, and Exhibit 3 is the indictment.
No objection, Your Honor.
Without objection, states 1, 2, and 3 are admitted. Mr. Stevens, is that your understanding of the plea agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Owens, is that your understanding as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, understand that the plea agreement is not binding on the court. However, if I were to reject it, I would allow you to withdraw your plea. If I follow the plea agreement, you may not appeal this case except on matters raised by written motion and ruled on before trial or by permission of the court. The next document I'm going to ask you about is the one-page document entitled The Trial Court Certification of Your Right to Appeal. It is a document that explains your appeal rights because this is a plea bargained or negotiated case. You do not have an automatic right of appeal. Mr. Owens, do you recall reviewing the trial court certification with your attorney and signing that document?
Yes, Your Honor.
Signed by your attorney and signed by the court as well. Now, on your plea of guilty and the evidence introduced, I will accept your plea and at this time find the evidence substantiates your guilt. I will find you guilty of the offense of theft of property in an amount between $2,500 and $30,000. And I will sentence you according to the plea agreement to 2 years confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. That will be suspended for 2 years of community supervision. There will be there's no fine, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay. There are 200 hours of community service. You're subject to urine and breath analysis, curfew, theft counseling, no contact with the complainant, court costs, and this will run concurrent with cause numbers 2019 0D04550 and 2019 0D04549. I understand there will be a dismissal of a misdemeanor case 2021 0C00842. Mr. Owens, that dismissal will be going to the appropriate misdemeanor court for the judge's signature. Is there anything further, Mr. Stevens or Ms. King?
Your Honor, the misdemeanor is just 2022. I'm
Oh,
not sure.
2020. Okay.
Nothing further from this, Your Honor.
Nothing from the defense, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Owens, good luck to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.